Hi there. We're here to talk about a few of the topics in Hansen and Quinn Unit 7, namely second aorists, independent uses of the optative, and the demonstrative adjective and pronoun ἐκεῖνος, which means that. We're also going to go over a few of the drills and go over these exercises which use these new topics. All right, verbs that have a second aorist. You'll know them by their principal parts. So far, we've been only learning verbs that have principal parts that look a lot like paideo. So paideo, paideuso, epaideosa, right? So its third principal part ends in alpha. Of course, it has that augment on it, right? And then here, paideus, that's the stem. So for the indicative, we use the augment and that stem and the endings we already know. For the subjunctive and the optative in the infinitive, we take off the augment and use that stem. Verbs that have a second aorist, like leipo, leipso, elipon, which means to leave or abandon, their third principal part's going to look different. It's still going to have the augment, but the endings, and that's the first person singular aorist indicative active, just like the third principal part of paideo, its endings look just like the imperfect indicative active and imperfect indicative middle endings we've already known in the indicative. And in the subjunctive and optative, they're going to look like the endings we already know from the present subjunctive and optative. For the infinitive, they're going to look just like the endings we know from the present infinitive active and middle, except that they're going to be accented a little differently. So let's look at all that now. All right, so we remember that verb leipo. So the first principal part is leipo. So the imperfect indicative active of leipo would use the stem from the first principal part and the augment, and the imperfect indicative active ending. So it would be elepon, elepes, elepe, and in the middle, elepomen, elepu, right? Well, for the second aorist, go to the third principal part, elipon, and use the same exact endings you would use for the imperfect indicative active. For the second aorist middle, again, go to that third principal part and use the same exact endings you would use for the imperfect indicative middle. The only difference is the stem. The imperfect uses the stem from the first principal part, but the second aorist uses the stem from the third principal part. Means you really need to know your principal parts to tell the difference between a second aorist and an imperfect indicative. For the subjunctive, okay, the third principal part, you remember, is elipon. There's the stem without the augment, lip. And for the second aorist subjunctive active, we add the same endings to that stem from the third principal part. We add the same endings we know from the present subjunctive active. For the middle, we take that same stem and we add the endings we know from the present subjunctive middle. For the second aorist optative, again, we take that same stem from the third principal part. For the active, we add the endings we know from the optative active present. For the middle, we add the same endings we know from the optative middle present. So again, the only difference between the present and aorist optatives is going to be the stem. For the infinitives, remember that the present infinitive active, would be lepēin, and the present infinitive middle would be lepasthai. The second aorist infinitive, take the stem from the third principal part. Remember, no augment, because like the subjunctive and the optative, the infinitive does not have time. It only has aspect. You add that same ending, but it's accented a little differently, okay? It's accented over the ultima there. So lepēin, to be leaving, lepēin, to leave, simple aspect. For the middle, it's that same esthai ending, but now accented on the penult. So lepasthai, to be being left, to be being abandoned. Lipasthai, to be abandoned, simple aspect. Now we're going to move on to independent uses of the optative. That is, uses of the optative that aren't inside a subordinate clause. First off, the optative of wish. An optative of wish is an independent use of the optative. It's introduced either by nothing, or eithā, or agar. We'll see examples in a minute. And we can translate it a bunch of different ways. You can translate it with an English subjunctive, long live the king. Or with may the king live long. Or if only the king would live long, or I wish that the king would live long. And the negative is always may. The potential optative, on the other hand, always has on. We can translate it a bunch of ways too. I may go to the party. I might go to the party. I could go to the party. I would go to the party. Any of those is a legitimate translation for the potential optative. And its negative is u. So if you have an independent use of the optative with a may, it's got to be optative of wish. If you've got it with an u, it's got to be a potential optative. If it has on, it's got to be a potential optative. If it doesn't have on, it's got to be an optative of wish. So let's look at some examples from drill 4. Luomen tous agathous. Well, luomen is present indicative active. We are freeing. So we are freeing the good men. Number 2, luomen tous agathous. So what's changed here is that this is now a present subjunctive active. So number 1 was we are freeing the good men. Number 2 must be, well, it's a first person singular subjunctive, an independent use of the subjunctive. So how about a hortatory subjunctive? Let's be freeing the good men. Number 3, we're back to the present indicative active. In fact, this sentence, number 3, looks just like sentence number 1, except it's got a question mark at the end. So, are we freeing the good men? Number 4. Well, now we have an aorist subjunctive. So an aorist subjunctive plus may, second person plural. So I think this is a prohibitive subjunctive. Don't free the good men. Don't free the good men, a prohibitive subjunctive. Number 5. Well, here's an aorist optative, so it'll have that simple aspect, aorist optative, with agar. So this is one of our new independent uses of the optative. Agar luomen tous agathous. How about, I wish that we free the good men. May we free the good men. Okay. Number 6. Luomen on tous agathous. All right, so now we have an aorist optative again, But now we have this on, so it can't be an optative of wish. It's got to be here a potential optative. So we could free the good men. Etheluoien. Oh, that accent's wrong. Let's fix that. Etheluoien hoi phulakes tus agathus. So now we have ethe plus a present optative, third person plural, and we have a subject, hoi phulakes, in the nominative. And then we still have the good men as the object. So this has got to be an optative of wish again. So how about if only the guards were freeing the good men? Or I wish that the guards would be freeing the good men. Okay, may the guards be freeing the good men. How about that? Well, that's an optative of wish. Here we have a present optative active plus on. So I think we're back to the potential optative here. We've still got the phulakes as the subject and tus agathus as the object. Ooh, but they've done a tricky thing here. This is now first person plural instead of third person plural. This is always tricky when you get a first or second person plural plus a nominative subject. And it's a present optative, so it's going to have that progressive aspect. So how about we, the guards, could be freeing the good men. Oh no, look, it's got a question mark at the end. Could we guards be freeing the good men? Might we guards be freeing the good men? Potential optative. How about number 9? Uk an luoien, hoi phulakes tus agathus. Well, now it's third person plural again. It's still a potential optative. It's got that on, plus it's got uk. Remember, uk with the potential optative, may with the optative of wish. So how about the guards might not be freeing the good men? Or the guards could not be freeing the good men. Finally, okay, we have an aorist optative, third person plural. And now we have a may. So even though we don't have ethe or agar, I think this is an optative of wish. How about would that the guards not free the good men, or may the guards not free the good men? Optative of wish, and now it's an aorist optative, so it's got simple aspect. Yeah, so may, or I wish that the guards not free the good men. Now let's do a longer sentence. Let's do one of the exercises. This is exercise 1. Agar nuktos tekai hemeras ekenoi hoi agathoi phulakes eu phulatonta tus kleptas hos tatu demo argoriu me klepsosin. I think there's actually a typo here, and I'm going to fix it right now. It should be argorion. That should be a new. Made a mistake when I was typing. All right. So there we go. So look, how would I approach this? So here's A plus, where's our verb? Fulatointa. Oh, it's agar. So it's an optative of wish. Agar fulatointa. Optative of wish. And notice it's a present optative, so it's going to have progressive or repeated aspect. And then nuktos tekai hemeras. Okay, we're going to take those together. Now, you've noticed I have not been putting long marks or anything on the letters, not that it would help us here. This here could be accusative plural or genitive singular. But what's going to decide us is this one. We're going to assume that they're parallel. So this is definitely genitive singular, so we're going to call this one genitive singular as well. And this is one of these genitives of time within which. Okay? By day and by night. How about? Good. All right, so now we have the subject of the verb. It's these ἐκεῖνοι γοη agathoi phulakes. Now this ἐκεῖνοι, I'm going to tell you, we're going to talk about ἐκεῖνος in a minute, but that ἐκεεῖνοι means those, and it agrees with the phulakes. So let's see, what else do we have? We have the direct object in the accusative, τους kleptos, the thieves. And then this end part here, hos ta to demu argorion me klepsosin, that looks like a purpose clause, and we'll save that. So let's do the first part first. Egar nuktos to kai hemeras, ἐκεῖνοι γοη agathoi phulakes, eu phulatointa tus kleptos. And we said it's an optative of wish. So let's see. I wish that if only those there's their ge, those good guards were guarding the thieves well by day and by night. Okay. So, if only, or I wish that, those good guards were guarding the thieves well by day and by night, and now here comes our purpose clause, hos ta to demu argorion me klepsosin, in order that they may not steal, aorist subjunctive active in a purpose clause and primary sequence, in order that they may not steal ta argorion, the silver of the people. So, I wish that those good guards were guarding the thieves well by day and by night, in order that they may not steal the silver of the people. Done. Number 2. Okay. Let's see. Either hoi aloi stratiotai me lipoien ten gephoron ala tus polemius koluseion. So you got 2 verbs. We got our either, that's a sign that we have another potential optative coming, and lipoien and koluseion. Well, this is third person plural, aorists, optative, active. And this is also third person plural, aorist, optative, active. Remember our second aorist, there's that stem from the third principal part of lepo. And the optative, active endings that we already knew from the present optative, active. So we have 2 third-person plural, aorist, octative, actives with either. The subject in the nominative here is hoi aloi stratiotai. And then lipoien has a direct object, ten gephoron. And koluseion has a direct object, tus polemius. So let's put it all together. I hope that the other soldiers don't abandon the bridge, but guard the enemies. I hope that the other soldiers don't abandon the bridge, but guard the enemies. Number 3. Hoi kakoi taton politon kleptoienon. So we have present optative active plus on. Looks like an independent use of the optative. So this must be a potential optative. All right, and then phylloxomen un, ἐκεῖνος tas oikias tas mikras. There's that ἐκεῖνος, those. All right, so the subject is hoi kakoi. The bad guys might be stealing. Notice it's present optative active. The bad guys might be stealing ta tone polytone, neuter plural accusative, the stuff of the citizens. So the bad guys might be stealing the stuff of the citizens. Phylloxomen un, ἐκεῖνος tas oikias tas mikras. Phylloxomen. So that's what? Aorist subjunctive active, first person plural. So what kind of subjunctive should that be? How about a hortatory subjunctive? So let's guard those houses, the small ones. So let's guard those houses, the small ones. So let's guard those small houses. The bad guys might be stealing the stuff of the citizens. So let's guard those small houses. Okay, let's now just talk about the demonstrative adjective and pronoun ἐκεῖνος. Here are all the forms, and you'll see that the masculine, you know all those endings. It looks just like logos. The feminine, just like techne, with the exception, remember, the genitive plural of techne, and in fact, the genitives plural of all first declension nouns have a circumflex over the omega. That's not true of the feminine genitive plural of ἐκεῖνον. And finally, the neuter. It looks almost just like ergon, except note, the nominative and accusative singular don't have a nu on the end like ergon does, right? So they end just in omicron, like the article, ta. Okay? A couple of rules for the use of ἐκεῖνος. First is an adjective. A noun modified by ἐκεῖνος must be accompanied by the article. So here's an example. ἐκεῖνος ho anthropos paideoi. That man, ἐκεῖνος ho anthropos, is teaching. As a pronoun, the demonstrative ἐκεῖνος can be used as a pronoun like this. Ho anthropos ἐκεῖνους paideoi. The man is teaching, and this is neuter or masculine plural accusative. The man is teaching those guys. So let's look at some examples. This is exercise number 6. Ar ἐκεῖνο pempsimenon, e to allo pempsomen. So first off, it's a question. It's got that R in the beginning. We don't translate that, but it shows us that it's a question. All right, this is aorist optative, first person plural. It's an independent use of the optative. It's got on, so it must be a potential optative. Remember, aorist optative means it has simple aspect. So could we send, and this is neuter, singular, here accusative, could we send that thing? Now, here's another question, but this one has the aorist subjunctive. I think this is a deliberative subjunctive. So, could we send that thing? Or are we to send to allo, the other thing? Okay, could we send that thing? Or are we to send the other thing? Oy, here's a long one. All right, this is number 8 from the exercises. Uk agathonge to aneu hegemonos tes maches archesthai. Kai toi uk ethelesan hoi stratiotai pausesthai en toi pedioi. alla tatontai eis machen, pesomen εκεῖνος pausasthai. All right. Well, this first one, look at this, ta archasthai. That is the articular infinitive. Okay? Let's see. And this is from arco. Remember, that's the present middle infinitive. And remember that the middle of arco can mean to begin, and it takes a genitive. So, to be beginning, tes maches, the battle. Aneo hegemonos, without a leader. To be beginning the battle without a leader. Uk agathon ge, isn't good. Get that ge in there. To be beginning the battle without a leader isn't good. All right. Kai toi uk etheleison hoi stratiotai pausasthai, en toi pedioi, ala tatontai eis machen. Here's the subject, hoi stratiotai, and there's the verb, etheleison. Well, that's aorist indicative active. So, kai toi. The soldiers didn't want uk. They didn't want pausasthai. Okay, so that's aorist middle. They didn't want the middle of pauo to cease, maybe. They didn't want to cease in the field, entoi pedioi, in the plain. But tatontai, that's the middle of tato, I think. But they are falling into order of battle. Eis machen. I guess I already used that up. They are falling into order of battle. So, the soldiers didn't want to cease on the plain, but they are, arranging themselves for battle. They are falling into order of battle. Pesomen εκεῖνος pausasthai. Pesomen. Well, that is the aorist subjunctive active of peitho, to persuade. So that's an independent use of the subjunctive. Let's make that mean, a hortatory subjunctive. So let's persuade those guys. Therefore, let's persuade those guys to cease, to stop themselves. All right, let's put the whole thing into order. It is not good to be beginning the battle without a leader. But the soldiers didn't want to wait on the plain, but they are falling into order of battle. Therefore, let's persuade those guys to cease. 11, another long one. Ἐκεῖνοι, that's accented wrong. That should be a circumflex. All right. Ἐκεῖνοι goi kakoi stratiotai, hoi ta hopla en toi pedioi, elipon metaten machen ton dargeron ton tu homeru, kaitas aigas keklophasin. Ἐκεῖνος grapsimetha klopes. All right, so, wow. That is the subject. Those bad soldiers. Good. There's the main verb, keklofesen. And then this in here is a relative clause. Okay? And then this, all of that, and that are the direct objects of the verb, I think, right? All right, so let's try and put it together a little bit. Those bad soldiers, okay, those bad soldiers, here's the relative clause, who, elipon, there's one of our second aorists, third person plural, second aorist, indicative active, those bad soldiers who left their weapons on the plain after the battle. What did those bad soldiers? They have stolen. That's perfect indicative active. They have stolen ton argeron, the silver of Homer, and the she-goats. Therefore, okay, now grapsimatha, that's aorist optative middle. And if you think about grapho, right, one of the things that the middle of grapho can mean is indite, and it's going to have an accusative direct object. And this is genitive. I think that's the genitive of the charge. Now, why is it optative? I think it's got to be an optative of wish. So how about may we indict them on a charge of theft, for theft. So may we indict them. I hope that we indict them for theft. Number 12. Peithoimetha didaskalois tois gagathois. Didaskusigar tois gramasi, kai tein teknein, kai tein aratein. Aneu de teknes te kai arates, u toi kalos pratusin hoi ne'ai. All right, so let's start with this first short sentence, peithoimetha. All right, so peitho means to persuade, but in the middle, with a dative, it can mean obey. So I think that's what we've got going on here, because this is the first person plural, present middle optative of peitho. I think it's got to be an optative of wish, right? So, if only we were obeying. I wish that we were obeying. Okay, may we be obeying. Teachers, the good ones. Anyway, the good ones at any rate. So, I wish that we may be obeying teachers, the good ones at any rate. Why? Gar. Okay, for, and this is just present indicative active, for they teach, what do they teach? This is accusative. Kai tein teknein, kai tein aratein. For they teach, or for they are teaching, both skill and virtue, tois grammase, I think that's a dative of means, with letters. Indeed, okay, de. Indeed, aneo technes, to kai arates. Indeed, without skill and virtue. And remember, here's the subject, hoi ne'ai. Pratusin, again, just third person plural, present indicative active. Prato plus an adverb, so fare well, do well. All right, so indeed, without skill and virtue. Ooh, toy. It's like an emphatic version of ooh. For without skill and virtue, the young men don't do well at all. Not at all do the young men do well. All right, 13. Didaxo methode tus pente adafus tein tu sofu poie tu tekne. Pempoien garon hoi politai tu tois agathois poie tais dora e Stephanus e cruson. All right, so the first sentence, the verb is didaxometha, and I think that's the only verb there. That's aorist subjunctive middle. Why is it subjunctive? I think it's got to be a hortatory subjunctive because it's first person plural. So indeed, let's teach the 5 brothers. And what should we teach them? The skill of the wise poet. Indeed, let's teach the 5 brothers the skill of the wise poet. Notice that didasko can take 2 accusatives, right? One of the person being taught and then one of the thing being taught. That's like an internal accusative. All right, so the second sentence, pempoien garon hoi politai tois agathois poietais dora. So the verb here is pempoien on. So pempoien, that's present optative active with on. So I think that's got to be a potential optative. And the subject is hoi politai. And it looks like the direct object is Dora. And then we have this dative here. So for the citizens could be sending gifts to the good poets. And then in apposition to Dora, which is accusative plural, we have these accusatives plural. So for the citizens could be sending gifts to the good poets, either crowns or gold. Number 14. Homenretor tus macrus logus graphe, hodalos graphetai. This is one of these short and tricky ones. All right, so on the one hand, and here's the other hand over here. So on the one hand, the rhetor writes or is writing the long speeches. So on the one hand, the rhetor is writing the long speeches. And on the other hand, ha'alos, the other guy, graphetai. I think let's make that middle. So on the one hand, the rhetor is writing the long speeches. On the other hand, the other guy is being indicted. 15. Entoi hieroi pausometha, ekeigar thusimenon tais theois. Ooh, here's that adverb that's related to ἐκεῖνος, so in that place. All right, so aorist subjunctive middle. Middle of power means to cease or to stop oneself. So I think this has got to be a hortatory subjunctive. So let's stop in the temple. For there, thusimenon. Optative plus on, it's an aorist optative, active, plus on, so potential optative. For there, we could sacrifice tais theois, to the goddesses. 16. Tus men didaske homeros, tus de didasketai. So we have the tus men and the tus de. So Homer is teaching, tus men, tus de. Homer is teaching the ones And then what is he doing to the others? Didaskatai. Well, one meaning of the middle of didasko is to cause to be taught. So Homer is teaching the ones. On the one hand, Homer is teaching the ones. On the other hand, he is causing the others to be taught. Tus men, tus de. Here's another one that works a little like that. Alos alus didaskatai. So if you've been reading your vocab notes, you know that when you double up with alos, it means something a little bit different. So alos alus didaskatai. So one guy is causing other guys to be taught. One guy is causing some guys to be taught. One guy is causing some guys to be taught. And another guy is causing other guys to be taught. Alos alus didaskatai. One guy is causing some guys to be taught. Another guy is causing other guys to be taught. Oi, mikra he tu agathu poietu time. Kai mikra ente agorai he ton ἐκεῖνου biblion time. All right, so this first sentence, it's one of these sentences, like agathos hoikes. Good is the goat, right? Works like that. So, mikra he time. Not small is the honor of the good poet. Not small is the honor of the good poet. Kai mikra ente agorai he ton ἐκεῖνο biblion time. And not small in the agora is the honor of the books of that guy. So not small is the honor of the good poet, and not small in the agora is the honor of that guy's books. Eke pausaimatha hina tus xenus pausomen. So here we have an aorist optative middle, and that's the main verb, the verb of the independent clause. And here we have an aorist subjunctive active, and that's inside what appears to be a purpose clause. So, first this one. It's an independent use of the optative. I think it's got to be an optative of wish. So, may we stop ourselves there. May we cease there in order that we may stop, transitive now, in order that we may stop tus xenus, the strangers. May we cease there, may we stop ourselves there in order that we may stop the strangers. Oh, that's the end. Terrific. Good work. And there's another video about the very end, a shorter video about the very end of Unit 7 coming up.